Good morning to the European participants. Good afternoon to the Greek participants, since it's 12:15. So welcome to our thematic meeting of the project Change the Power, Empower to Change on circular economy. This is a project funded by the program DEAR. And so I hope that it is a good day for all of you, in spite the various incidents that are going on around Europe. And as we discussed, especially with this crazy COVID situation. Before proceeding any further, I would like to remind you that this meeting is recorded, and also we have a live streaming on a YouTube channel. So this thematic meeting is a 2 days event, today and tomorrow. So we hope that we will engage your interest on both days. I would like to thank for their presence the partners, the project partners of Empower, and also our regional stakeholders who have been following us on our various circular economy events that we are organizing in the framework of other projects as well. In the beginning, I would like to ask from our project coordinator, Ms. Silke Lunebach from Frankfurt, on behalf of the lead partner of the project, the Climate Alliance in Germany, to give us a short greeting and also an idea of what our project Empower is about, and also an idea about the program DEAR. So Silke.
Thank you very much, Vasiliki. Welcome from our side as well, from Climate Alliance as a lead organization of the EU project Change the Power, Empower to Change local authorities toward the SDGs and climate justice. So in the last nearly 3 years, we held different thematic meetings. We had it in Romania with our colleague from Focus Eco Center, in Germany with the city of Munich, also in Luxembourg with Climate Alliance Luxembourg, ASTM. We had different topics like renewable energies, local value creation, supply chain, corporate responsibility and due diligence. So it was very broad, and the idea was to really discuss also in not only with the project partners the normal project issues of every day, and but really invite also others, colleagues from other institutions, other organizations, to really go into a discussion on topics towards climate justice and the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs. So I'm very pleased that today we are able to learn more about a very important issue of the circular economy, and to find strategies or discuss national strategies like in Greece, and also get some local examples, best practice examples. So what you're doing in Greece, but also I think we have some interesting examples also from our partner, the city of Munich. I think circular economy is one of the most pressing cross-cutting challenges when we talk about sustainability and development, to reuse, sharing, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, or recycling, and really have a closed loop system and minimize the use of resources is so relevant and more important than ever. Have less waste, less pollution, and really reduce the CO2 and all the other greenhouse gas emissions. I think that's very important, and having as a background the Agenda 2030 and also the Paris Agreement. So I think the circular economy, it's really particularly important, talking about SDGs, including SDG 6 on energy, or SDG 8 on economic growth, or sustainable city like SDG 11 or 12 on sustainable consumption and production. But also it tackles climate change, it tackles oceans and life on land. So I think it's really a topic which is really relevant, and it shows a bit also what we did the last years in our project, because we had this huge campaign on A Good Life is Simple, which you also used in Greece. It was great to see the buses running through Thessaloniki, or at least seeing the photos. I couldn't be there, but seeing that really tackling a campaign, informing our citizens, because what is very sure that we really have to include all parts, all stakeholders all around the world. We are not talking just about Europe. We're also trying to make the link and explain the interdependencies between Europe and the global South. So I think now we have the opportunity in the last weeks of our project to have this thematic meeting not only as an end, but I think also to have a restart and be sustainable, not only in our discussions and be sustainable in our daily life, but being sustainable also in our future cooperation. So yeah, I'm really looking forward. I want to thank Anatoliki to choose this topic, and I'm very curious now and wish us all a pleasant and interesting event. Thank you.
Thank you, Silke. So now I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Konstantinos Michailidis, the Head of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Support Directorate of the region of Central Macedonia, for giving his greetings as well to the event.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Governor of the region of Central Macedonia, Mr. Apostolos Gigikostas, I would like to thank you very much for the invitation to take part in this remarkably interesting workshop, which is about what regions and cities can do to promote circular economy. I'm Konstantinos Michailidis. I'm the head of the Directorate of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Support of the region of Central Macedonia, as Vasiliki said. We all know that the world that we are living is changing constantly. The way we live, the way we work, the way we produce products is affected by global challenges, and Europe needs to constantly adapt to these changing conditions in order to be competitive and to prosper. But this prosperity has to be achieved in a responsible way without the overconsumption of natural resources. We have to take into account the sustainability of our actions when we plan for the future. Regions and cities are in the front of this battle for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And as today's workshops will very clearly show, they are also very active in promoting circular economy. Bringing Europe closer to its villages, the cities and the region is the primary mission of the European Committee of the region, where the Governor of Central Macedonia, Mr. Apostolos Gigikostas, is the President. The belief of the European Committee of the region is that policies and programs should be more close to the people, should be more local. And that is because local and regional authorities, first of all, have the capacity and the willingness to be in this front line of the battle to make Europe more competitive and prosper. And second, they are able to produce very important results. They have great and efficient strategies for promoting the Sustainable Development Goals, and many of them are implementing a lot of initiatives for supporting circular economy. In our region, Central Macedonia, for example, we have developed an action plan and strategy for promoting circular economy. Ms. Kiskini will present to you later on this strategy. There are also many companies that already implement circular economy practices in their everyday businesses, which assist them to be more competitive and more environmental friendly. And many of them got funds from the regional operational program of the region through various funding schemes. We are also participating in Free Indirect Euro project, SESME, Bioregio and SINS, which promotes circular economy practices among SMEs, and which enabled us to form action plans that contain effective interventions on circular economy. In addition, in the process of monitoring and analyzing and evaluating our RIS3 strategy through data we have collected and workshops we have conducted, circular economy has been identified by both the academia and the industry as having great potentials in our regions for the future. In our directorate, we are also operating a one-stop liaison office, which is promoting resource efficiency through networking among SMEs. And finally, we are preparing for the new operational program of the next programming period, where within the policy objectives 1 and 3, which are about a smarter and greener Europe, our target is to support the transition to circular economy and to reduce the waste that is going to the landfills. We have in our plans to fund actions such as the promotion of the reuse, the reduction and recycling of waste, the creation of green points, and to raise awareness among citizens and businesses for circular economy, and many more actions that are going to be specified in the years to come. So any project that is dealing with the above issues is very important for one more reason. Since it covers expertise on circular economy, we expect from it to provide to us feasible ideas and suggestions for actions that could be financed by the rope of the next programming period around circular economy. We know that circular economy practices in our region are not widespread at the level they should be. We have a distance to cover until we can say that our society enjoys the benefits from circular economy. So we're very satisfied that through projects like this, circular economy is gaining ground and popularity, and we would very much like to have a close cooperation. Congratulations again, and we wish you success to today's event and tomorrow and to the project in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Michailidis, and thank you very much, especially for pointing out the importance of local authorities and their role in the procedure of the circular economy procedures. So now I would like to ask Mr. Antonis Boboulas, who is the head of Research and Studies Department of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Thessaloniki, to tell us some words as well.
Hello to everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. On behalf of the Administrative Committee of the Thessaloniki Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I would like to thank you, Anatoliki, and all partners for inviting us to this very interesting thematic meeting on circular economy. As we know, the circular economy is a model of production and consumption which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and finally recycling materials and products for as long as possible. It includes technical resources, metals, minerals, fossil resources, and biological resources such as food, fibers, timbers, etc. This implies reducing waste and pollution, energy savings and innovation, especially nowadays that circular economy can be combined with digitalization processes and automation. The Thessaloniki Chamber of Commerce and Industry strongly believes that circular economy can generate new business, opportunities and jobs, providing also significant environmental and social benefits. We are very convinced that the results of your project and all best practices will be very useful for our members, and we would like to congratulate you for this initiative and for the project. We are willing to cooperate with you in all project activities. Thank you very much for this invitation.
Thank you, Mr. Boboulas. Thank you very much. And now Mr. Iacovos Tsarigiannis, the General Director of Anatoliki, will complete the greeting session before moving on to our agenda. So, Mr. Tsarigiannis.
Dear partners, dear guests, the Development Agency of Local Authorities, Anatoliki SA, was established 25 years ago with the aim of supporting sustainable development in the wider area of the city of Thessaloniki and the region of Central Macedonia in general. Anatoliki SA is based in the municipality of Thermi, the Greek member of Climate Alliance Network on the east side of the city. Its support covers issues related to waste management, soil and water management, environmental education, social cohesion, energy management, application of new technologies, support for entrepreneurship, circular economy, adaptation to climate change, topics related to our project with the title Change the Power, Empower to Change, Local Authorities Toward the Climate Justice. The participation of Anatoliki SA in EU co-funded projects is particularly important for all stakeholders involved in the company's shareholding because it contributes to the promotion of sustainable development in the wider region through the exchange of good practices and know-how. It is also an opportunity to manage jointly similar problems that our cities face in Europe every day. Since 2018, when the implementation of the project started, our world has changed. These changes have influenced and continue to affect our daily lives and the way we work in our European family. After the economic crisis in Greece and some other European countries, mainly South, Brexit was the next incident, and now we're experiencing the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we're here to discuss about circular economy based on European policy and to have a virtual study visit in good practices from our region. The organization of this meeting was also affected by COVID. The initial planning was to be organized in Thessaloniki, and finally it is organizing online. So unfortunately, we do not have the opportunity to host you in our city, but at least an online meeting is more environmental friendly. The pandemic, as it seems, accelerates the digitalization of our daily life. In conclusion, I would like to thank Climate Alliance and all project partners, the region of Central Macedonia, the Chamber of Commerce and Industries of our city, the municipalities of Fermi, Kalamaria, Thessaloniki, Piraeus, Korchiatis, Thermaikos, and all stakeholders for our collaboration, and of course, all of you for your participation in this meeting. And finally, to welcome you in our cloud hall and wish a successful work these 2 days. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Storiani. So now we completed the session of the welcome speeches. So today our agenda is focused on the circular economy policies and strategies at local and regional level. And tomorrow we will take you on a virtual study visits tour where 4 circular economy good practices from our region will be presented to you. So we are starting with our first speaker today on the agenda, Dr. Christos Karkanias from Anatoliki, who is going to present to us the National Greek Framework on Circular Economy and Harmonization with the new European planning. Christos, if you want.
Good morning to all the participants in this interesting meeting. First, I would like to thank you to Vasa and Anatoliki and all the project partners for the invitation. I'm going to analyze the national framework on circular economy in Greece and the way it's harmonized with the European planning. I will share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. First, the contents of this presentation. As I said, I'm going to analyze the national strategy on circular economy in Greece, and more specifically, the policy framework, policy axes, the actions, and the main goals. And secondly, I want to list the policy framework, the actions, and the instruments of the second action plan on circular economy in the European Union. At first, I have to say that the national framework on circular economy in Greece is one of the first national action plans on circular economy in the European Union. It launched in December 2018, and its basic contents are 4. First, the provision of financing tools. Second, the adoption of regulatory framework and the extinction of bureaucracy. Third, the connection of SMEs to the technological innovation and the support of pilot actions on circular economy. And finally, the 4 basic content is the improvement of governance networking and the acceleration of relevant procedures. Okay. The actions of this national strategy are mainly listed in the action plan. First, the government has to launch a series of institutional interventions that will reinforce circular economy. That is a brand new idea in our country, and will set some specific priorities and criteria to define these indicators on circular economy and in order to access it. It has also to facilitate industrial symbiosis, which is another brand new idea in our country, and set some initiatives, for example, administrative costs, carteling, green public procurement, and eco-industrial park. This government has also to promote smart financing tools with aids and tax reliefs, and finally utilize public investments such as the investment bank and other funds and resources. Some other actions of this action plan is to promote open licenses, technologies, and innovation projects, and to create databases and use of this information on circular economy to promote this idea. The government has also provided incentives to develop social entrepreneurship, synergies, and social economy among all the organizations, enterprises, and the public and the community working on the circular economy, and also to adopt policies to establish smart factory plans. Finally, it has to implement communicating strategy to raise citizens' awareness, which is a very important thing and is necessary in order to promote the notion of circular economy. There are three policy axes of this national strategy on circular economy in Greece. The first one is sustainable resource management, including new value chains, rational waste management, reuse of products, and sustainable use of water. The second one is support of circular economy, including promoting eco-design, repair and reuse culture, industrial symbiosis, as I said before, sharing economy and bioeconomy, and finally, green public procurement. Finally, circular consumption is the last policy X, and includes the promotion of sustainable food consumption and the urban cultivation, as well as the reduction of packaging and the prevention of waste generation. Now, the main goals for 2030 of this national strategy include 7 specific goals. The first one is to integrate the criteria for eco-design in the products, to promote waste prevention and encourage reusage of the waste, and to create manuals for improving energy efficiency in all sectors of industry, to promote innovative forms of consumption and rational consumption model. The 6th goal is to promote information exchange and synergies within the society, and finally to promote transparency, training, and raising social awareness within the community. There is a list of 35 instant specific actions, implementations actions in 4 fields. The first field is the regulation and legislation. The second one is the financing and the financial incentives. The third one, the exchange of information, and the fourth one, the networking governance. Speaking about the first field, specific instant actions include the legislative framework for waste management and some proposals for reducing the food loss, including measuring and monitoring the food waste. It includes also a national action plan for green public procurement and a framework for the adjustment for public-private construction projects. It also includes the distinction. We must have a distinction between waste and products, and also water reuse and use of floods from wastewater. In this field, there are 2 other instant actions, including the indicators and national standards for circular economy that will not exist in our country, and finally, criteria for eco-design. There are some more actions in this field. The creation of green points. This is a new idea, and we're waiting for the first green point to take place in Central Macedonia. The green points are centers for recycling and training of the community. The use of waste as secondary fuel in industry is another action, and the facilitation of biogas production and compost from waste is another one. The National Action Plan to promote bioeconomy has to be established in the next years, as well as the energy communities at local level and the incorporation of circular economy in sustainable urban mobility plans. Finally, there is a plan to import circular economy in ports in islands in Greece. Speaking about the second field, sector of industry and the community, the financing and financial incentives, There are two specific actions, including the possibilities for financing actions for circular economy, and secondly, very important, the circular tax incentives. In the third field, the exchange of information, there are some fora for the development of circular economy that are going to take place in the next years, and a guide for the circular city as well. A very important thing is to implement some campaigns for raising awareness on food waste within the community, and develop guides for improving energy efficiency, as well as to promote the cooperative economy within the community. Finally, in the fourth field, and very important, to support circular economy and networking governance, there are three specific actions, including the secretariat, establishment and operation, the administration, education, training programs in the public sector, and finally the establishment of an observatory for the circular economy. This is, in a few words, the national strategy on circular economy in Greece. And now I'm going to say some more initiatives that are included in the new circular economy action plan in the EU. This new circular economy, I said that, as I said, is the second action plan. The first one was developed in 2015, and this action plan was developed in March 2020. So, as you can see, the national strategy on circular economy in Greece was developed in 2018, and this second action plan of the EU in March 2020. So this action plan in the European Union, European Green Deal, which is Europe's new agenda for sustainable growth. It includes some initiatives along the entire life cycle of products, such as the targeting of the design, the eco-design, the promotion of circular economy processes, and fostering sustainable consumption. Finally, the use of resources in the EU company as long as possible. This action plan introduces a new legislative and non-legislative measures to bring a real added value in the European Union in this sector. So the aim of this action plan, of this EU action plan, is split to two axes: for businesses and for citizens. In particular, for businesses, it will provide new opportunities for a transition to sustainable economic system, will increase the profitability for businesses and shelter them from resource price fluctuations. And finally, will foster business creation and entrepreneurship among the small and medium enterprises. In terms of the citizens, this new action plan will provide a high-quality, functional, and safe, efficient, and affordable products, and will also provide a better quality of life for the citizens, as well as innovative jobs, and finally will upgrade the knowledge and the skill of the citizens. The policy framework on which action plan is based introduces some new measures to promote a circular economy. The first one is to design sustainable projects to be the norm finally in the European Union. It will improve the product durability and usability. It will increase the recycling content in the products from now on, and will reduce carbon and environmental footprints. Another action that is foreseen in this action plan is to restrict single-use products and to introduce also a ban on the destruction of unsold durable goods to the businesses. It will also foresee to digitalize product information, for example, digital passports or watermarks on the products, and will set some reward products based on their different sustainability performance. This will boost, I believe, the whole industry of the products within the European Union. The second measure, the second field, including two measures to promote circular economy, is empower consumers and the public buyers. So one of the actions is the to provide trustworthy and relevant information on product citizens and to minimize requirements for sustainability with labels and logos and other information tools on the products. Finally, the third pillar of the policy framework is circularity in production processes, and that includes the facilitation of industrial symbiosis, the promotion of the use of digital technologies for resources tracking, tracing, and mapping, and finally the promotion of uptake of green technologies. The action plan of circular economy of the European Union foresees specific actions disseminated in separate key product value chains, including electronics, batteries, packaging, plastics, and food and water nutrients. But first, in a few words, I want to list some actions in the separate value chains. At first, regarding the electronics and ICT, this action plan foresees a right to repair of this product, common chargers for mobile phones and other similar devices, and a rational treatment of waste of electronic and electrical equipment, as well as restrictions of hazardous substances in this equipment. In terms of the batteries in the vehicles, there are some rules on the recycled contents and some sustainability requirements for the batteries, such as carbon footprint, ethical sourcing of raw materials, and recycling. Packaging waste, there are three main actions, such as the reduction of overpackaging waste, the restriction of the use of some packaging materials, and the reduction of the complexity of the packaging materials. In terms of the plastics, the restriction of added microplastics, the development of labeling, standardization, and certification measure, as well as the measurement of released microplastics in seawater. This action plan of the EU focused specifically in microplastics, which is a very important obstacle in the circular economy process. Finally, concerning the food, water, and nutrients, the main goal for this action plan is to remove single-use packaging, in food services, the facilitation of water reuse and efficiency, and finally, the development of an integrated nutrient management plan. Textiles is a very important sector in the European Union industry. This action plan foresees the eco-design of these products. It also foresees guidance to achieve high levels of separate collection of textile waste, as well as to boost sorting, reuse, and recycling of these textile waste. Finally, concerning the construction and buildings, the action plan includes some actions, including the recycling content for certain construction-only products. The digital books for buildings is very important for this industry. The revision of material recovery targets for construction and demolition waste, and finally the reduction of soil sealing, the rehabilitation, abandoned or contaminated areas. To finance these actions, the European Union have to search for financing tools and instruments, which it will find them in some organization or fund, such as the European Social Fund Plus, InvestEU, the European Urban Initiative, Intelligent Cities and Challenge Initiative, Circular Cities and Regions Initiative, Circular Economy Finance Support Platform, and other programs such as LIFE and the Horizon Europe. So there's many, let's say, similarities between the national economic strategy in Greece and the European Union Action Plan. First, the Greek circular economy strategy is one of the first national strategies among the countries in the European Union. It is fully compliant and harmonized with the EU circular economy strategy, although, as I said before, it was developed prior to the EU Action Plan in 2018, while the EU Action Plan was launched in 2020. It also includes similar to the EU Action Plan targets, such as the eco-design, sustainable consumption, inclusion of SMEs in circular economy actions, food waste reduction, and the industrial symbiosis notion. But this very last national strategy in Greece on circular economy focuses more on the bureaucracy that still exists in our country, and it refers for further action concerning some other waste, such as water waste, and it foresees a sustainable water use and also biogas exploitation, which is really brand new idea and notion in Greece. It also set priorities for the specific priorities for the next 2 years in order to catch up this evolution in the European Union. But in this sense, does not introduce specific measures for the different product value chains as the EU action plan, but it foresees action plans for these, but not referring them separately. And finally, the national strategy emphasized the lack of policy framework on waste management, exploitation also, and the need for a new strategy adoption in Greece. And this is all for me. Thank you for listening.
Christos, thank you very much for your detailed presentation regarding the national and EU circular economy framework, and especially for your last slides where the comparison of where we stand at the moment and what is more expected from the new EU planning, and which also reveals the challenges and perhaps the field where we can further develop new projects and new ideas and new synergies. So next to our agenda is Ms. Chrysanthi Kiskini, the head of the Department of European Projects from the Regional Development Fund of Central Macedonia. She is going to present to us the circular economy strategy in the region of Central Macedonia.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
But
good morning.
Someone is sharing his screen. Vesna, I think. Just a moment. I'm sorry.
I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
No, not for the moment.
Now?
Vesna, first of all, I think Vesna Petrovic, do you hear me? Someone else is sharing his screen. Okay, now we can see, I think now we can see.
It's Chrysanthe's
the screen, yes, Ms. Kiskini's screen, yes, I think now it's okay.
So I'm ready to start?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning on my behalf. After the presentations of Mr. Michailidis and Mr. Karkanias, I'm going to present you the less ambitious circular economy strategy in the region of Central Macedonia. It's very prominent that Greece is one of the first countries that has a national strategy, but there's a long way to go before this strategy comes into implementation and we have real projects and real jobs. So in the region, what we try to do is try to inform the SMEs and the citizens of our region, because the notion of circular economy was something that was very new in Greece a few years ago. So people had to get familiar with that. And just a few words about our region. It's the second largest region in Greece. And for 2018, we have been awarded the European Entrepreneurial Region by the European Committee and the Committee of the Regions. And one of the points that gave us very good, gave us points in order to gain this label was our strategy for circular economy. As Mr. Michailidis already said, the region of Central Macedonia has participated in 3 Interreg Europe projects that are dealing with circular economy. And through these projects, we try to identify the needs and the problems of our region and exploit the opportunities. And we had very extensive meetings with stakeholder groups, with all the stakeholders that are relevant, like the Chamber of Commerce, like schools, like SMEs. And what we tried to do was to activate our regional operational program, which is the most important financing tool for the region. Also to use the integrated waste management plan, to take into account our smart specialization strategy, and of course the planning of the new programming period. And what we tried to do was to promote the implementation of circular economy, both in the SMEs of the region, but also in the public sector bodies. The integration of circular economy in the region's development plan was a bottom-up procedure, like I said, with consultation through regional meetings with all our stakeholders. And of course, we took into account the EU good practices and the EU policies for circular economy. And what we're trying to do is to improve the investments based in circular economy by private entrepreneurship, and also to train the citizens of the regions and to raise their awareness for the implementation and actions in circular economy, because we have to change our mentality. We have to start consuming the way we're doing now in a linear way. And in order to change mentality, this must start from an early age, and it must become an everyday practice. Here are just a few opportunities for actions in the circular economy sectors in RCM. There are many technological solutions, but they have to be implemented. And there is, of course, the need to reduce the environmental footprint of raw materials, production and final products in the agri-food sector, the construction material sector, and the tourism sector, which are the sectors that are the champion sectors according to our RIS3 strategy. And of course, the agri-food value chain has a lot of opportunities to become more circular. Our action plan had 3 pillars. The first pillar was the integration of circular economy in the current regional operational program. The second pillar was the integration of circular economy in the next programming period, and targeted strategic actions in RIS3 to enforce circular economy. We have to mention that the regional operational programs are designed many years before they start get implemented. So the problem was that we didn't have many opportunities to influence the current operational programs, but we're putting a lot of effort in the designing of the next programming period, where circular economy is going to be a specific action. And regarding our RIS3 strategy, as Mr. Michailidis said, it's coming up through the entrepreneurial discovery processes that the that circular economy should be one of the main sectors when the strategy is going to get updated. As I said, in the current programming period, circular economy was not explicitly included, but we tried to introduce the circular economy criterion in the evaluation procedures from calls and concern funding of SMEs. And we have also created a mechanism to promote the idea and good practice of the circular economy in the notion of the Circular Economy Observatory that the EU wants to establish. And also we gave innovation vouchers for SMEs in order to fund actions based in circular economy. There was also a call launched regarding the modernization of existing small and medium-sized enterprises in the region of Central Macedonia. All the champion sectors were eligible, like agro-food sector, construction material sector, textiles, tourism, energy and environmental technology. And more than 300 SMEs have been approved to get financing. And 33 out of them were linked to sustainable and circular economy. There was not a specific call for circular economy, but the actions linked to circular economy were eligible. We don't have the results of the applying of these proposals yet, but we're trying to monitor them closely and have the next call more specific targeted to circular economy. And as I said before, one of the main goals was to inform the SMEs of the region about the notion of circular economy. And there were very extensive info days organized in all the regional units of our regions. And the SMEs were informed about the call that I mentioned before, in conjunction with good practices and updates that can be implemented regarding circular economy actions. Mr. Michailidis already mentioned the one-stop liaison office that is operating in the region premises, and trained staff is available to the public, SMEs owners and representatives, and they can get information regarding circular economy, related calls, vouchers, good practices, events, and more. And what is very crucial for the one-stop liaison office is to bring together the academia. Sorry about that. Is to bring together the academia and the research centers to the SMEs in order to transfer the innovative ideas into real business cases. Here are some pictures of the one-stop liaison office. And the call about the innovation vouchers was launched last year, and the scheme of the innovation vouchers is a relevant, easy procedure. The funding is 10,000 for every SME, And there were 47 SMEs that participated. 11 of them belong to the agri-food sectors and have actions that are linked to circular economy. And I think that all of you are familiar to the scheme of vouchers. There is a company who provides technology or an idea, and there is an SME who is getting the voucher in order to implement this idea. And about the next programming period and the promotion of the integration of the term circular economy, it's going to be, as I said, one of the main financial priority axes. And the planning team is already active for the preparation of the next ROP. And it is a target to include the concept and proposals for circular economy at our new ROP, shaped according to the region stakeholders' needs and the dynamics of the entrepreneurial environments. And we're going to use all the experience gained through the implementation of EU-funded programs and use all the good practices and all the good policies that are already successful in other countries. And the preliminary action of the adoption of circular economy in the next RIS3 strategy is that circular economy is going to be one of the sectors that will be included as a unique sector in the next strategy. And we think that that is going to give a boost to the SMEs in order to invest in circular economy. Mr. Kakanyas already mentioned some funding tools for circular economy in European level. Here, there are the funding tools in the level of the region of Central Macedonia. Of course, we have the ERDF funding from the regional operational program. We have the ERDF funding through the sectoral operational programs. We also have the national funds of the region. And of course, we count a lot on private funding for investments regarding the development of entrepreneurship in the sector of circular economy. Those are the three Interreg projects. In one of them, we have collaborated with Anatoliki, which was the lead partner in the project SESME. And we are running now the SINS projects, again with Anatoliki as a lead partner, with a specific focus in circular economy in the agri-food chain, which has a lot of potential. And I know that tomorrow you are going to visit virtually some good practices in the region. And I just wanted to mention some other good practices. And we have to admit that when we started searching for good practices in our region, it was a very positive surprise that there were many SMEs or startups that were implementing circular economy, but in some cases they just didn't know the term. And this is one startup that started through the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and it offers a very innovative bio-based circular economy solution, allowing the utilization of the residues on site, because it's a pilot operation, and this pilot operation can cover most part of the energy needs. Another good practice that RCM is implementing in a policy level is that it is participating in the agri-food sub-platforms of the Smart Specialization platform. More specifically, RCM is participating in 3 interregional schemes about high-tech farming, about nutritional ingredients and traceability in big data. And through this platform, the region is trying to collaborate with other regions that have similar priorities in their smart specialization strategies. And this is a small family farming enterprise in region of Central Macedonia, which is using in all the facilities terms of circular economy. That was all on my behalf. It's a pity that you couldn't visit Thessaloniki. But I think that tomorrow Anatoliki has prepared a very interesting study visit, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrysanthi. Yes, indeed, tomorrow it is going to be an interesting virtual tour to four of our four selected study visits from our region. Yeah, indeed, it is a pity that we couldn't have an in-person meeting, but we are adapting to the conditions, and we are using the tools we have to approach a different way our target. So thanks a lot. Before moving on with the agenda, and since one of our last speaker has not yet joined the event, I would like to ask you if you have any questions to address to the former speakers, Christos and Chrysanthi. Are there things that you would like to discuss? And during the presentations, you can also write to the chat your questions, and at the end we can answer them and discuss them as well. Okay, so it seems that nobody wants to ask something. So now I will ask Thijs de la Court from the Netherlands. He's a senior project leader from Klimaatverbond, and to share his presentation with us. Would you like, Thijs, would you like my help?
Oh, that would be excellent. If you can share it, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, I will do it for you. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is, we don't want this one, we want this one. Okay. So can you see it?
No.
Still not?
No, it's black.
Maybe it needs some time. How about now?
Yeah, but it's the wrong one.
Okay.
This is the one from Günther.
No, I changed it. Maybe it needs some time because I had both presentations open. Maybe it needs some time before you can see it. Still nothing?
No.
Do the others see the...
We see Munich.
You still see Munich?
Yes.
I can see it.
I'm going to close Munich. And I'm going to share in you.
Yeah.
Fine? Good.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. For your... Yes?
Full screen.
Okay, I will try it. Okay.
Yeah. It worked. Thank you.
Actually, it did. Okay.
It did. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a bit about our work about the carbon price, because we do a lot of work related on carbon pricing and circular economy. And I will try to give you some practical examples of work we do with municipalities and provinces related to road construction, infrastructure, and to public transport and school buses. And then I'll come to my conclusions. So may I have the next? Just to introduce ourselves, I'm from Klimaatverbond Nederland, so the Dutch Climate Alliance, and we have a joint program on carbon pricing, circular economy with municipalities, our provinces. We have 12 provinces, our water boards, but also with the ministries. So, for instance, the ministries, infrastructure and waterways. And we do have a procurement network involved. A lot of our work is related to green procurement. And it's maybe good to say that the Dutch Climate Alliance, Klimaatverbond Nederland, has a network of some 170 members, I think, so mainly municipalities and nearly all of the provinces and some water boards. And what we do in that context is research on carbon pricing. So that is one of the works we do. And another one is we do that in the context of circular economy. So many of the officials involved in our programs are part of the Department of Circular Economy or Regional Economy. So that's an important setting for us to work in. And we make it practical. So we translate the work we do immediately into concrete action procurement. And we do a lot of work on the institutional frame for the application. So I'll go into that later. But if you use work in circular economy, in green procurement, you need to look at the system in which it's being done, at the role of the market, but also the role of the officials involved, but also the importance of some political and democratic decisions being made. So we look at the system in which it happens so that we can ensure it's being implied. May I have the next one?
Yes.
And just to go into carbon pricing for us is an important thing because if we look at the footprint of, for instance, municipalities and provinces, a large part of that footprint, carbon footprint, is in fact green procurement. It's over 70% of the footprint of our regional local governments.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
Is involved in procurement. So what we look at is how can we have impact on procurement policies. And a lot of the procurement policies have to do with, for instance, that's a very big footprint, road construction and the use of roads, construction of houses or buildings, or for instance, transport. Those are important footprint elements, and they all involve large emissions of carbon. And if you use carbon pricing to have impact on that footprint, you need to study the carbon pricing as an effective instrument. And for many people, it's a complex instrument to begin with, because what most of the people know about carbon pricing is they look at taxing, carbon taxing, often national or international debates, and that in this system is at the right upper corner. It's a tax. For instance, the European emission trading system, which that is carbon taxing. And we have a lot of debate in our country, and many countries have it, on taxing, and often it's a fairly low tax of, let's say, 10, 20, 30, up to 100 euros being involved. Like Sweden has a tax of over 100 euros per ton CO2. So that is that area. But if you look at it from, for instance, a designing level, and you do cost benefit analysis, you don't want to look at the price which is effect a political or economical compromise, but you want to know what is the real price, the true price. And for that we use what is here described here, the left underside, the carbon price for policy making and design. So there you want to know what are the social costs of the climate crisis, what is the impact on the economy of climate change, and we come up with a price which is substantial, a minimum of 700 euros per ton of CO2. So that's a big price. And that's being used in the cost-benefit analysis and the planning cycle or design cycle, for instance, at that stage. And then you have another price, third one at the left upper side, and that is a carbon price which you use, in fact, in practical procurement. And that is a price intended to have impact on the way the market makes its choices. And that depends very much on the energy intensity of the products which you're going to procure, which you're going to buy. A very energy intensive product works with a low carbon price because the carbon price will have a lot of impact on the procurement. But if, for instance, you use carbon pricing in road design, we weigh the carbon price very high, up till 5,000, 6,000 euros per ton, in order to challenge the market to come up with carbon neutral designs. So you have to look at carbon pricing as a very, diverse. Maybe we just had a discussion at the national level as a kind of a Swiss knife with all different tools in it for different purposes. And there's not one price which is correct, but there are prices which fit their use. May I have the next one? Next slide. Yeah. And I'll go into... Is
this the right one? Yes, I changed it. Okay.
Road construction, this is fine. So I'll go into a clear-cut example, which we also use in practice in Holland. Road construction maintenance. It's also applicable to waterways or building dikes in our high water protection, because of course, we have the sea and our rivers and we are lowland. It's relevant to that market, which is very big in Holland. And then we have a challenge to reduce carbon emissions related to road construction. And we also would like to link it with circular economy. And then we have also a challenge, which also other speakers mentioned, that we want to link it to businesses, to jobs, to opportunities. And we know that our government doesn't have enough money to invest in everything. So we have to be very keen on the price. So we do work on road construction using a carbon price, and we challenge the market with a high carbon price, which involves the whole material stream. So it involves, in fact, circular economy. So that is what we do. We challenge the market. We also challenge, the market does that, market parties do that. For instance, in the design stage, we challenge the government. So for instance, we invite the companies which build the roads to demand from governments which do the procurement to set standards and to have a contract structure which helps them to be able to work with the high demands of the government. And one of that high demands is related to carbon price, and then the companies say we want contracts which allow for total cost of ownership to be part of the contract. So that means we want contracts which involve the design, the construction stage, but also the maintenance stage. Because if we have that full contract, we can build for you circular and carbon neutral roads. We also involve the user because the design of roads, in this case roads, is often a standard design which does not fit all the uses which are relevant. So we found out, for instance, in many of our situations that we build roads which are too big, too much constructed as highways, in which we could change together with the users using far less material than we've originally designed for. May I have the next one?
Yes.
And what is relevant in this stage is that if we use carbon pricing, we use it in the earliest stage possible. So that means then when we do the planning and the design stage, we use these, we enter into this discussion. So if you enter in discussion on carbon neutrality or circular economy, circular designs, you have to do that in the planning and design stage. We calculated that in real procurement, shows that the moment you go out of the design stage into the execution stage, your impact of standards, carbon prices, and those kind of things become far less. So the earlier you involve the companies and the designers, the bigger your impact will be. Yeah, may I have the next slide? And that means that if you do that in the design stage, you can also look at what is the best road structure which fits its use. So often you see, we see that in road construction, in the construction of dikes, waterways, but also construction of houses, that it's a conservative environment, and that we need new and innovative designs which fit its use. So if you design with the user in the early stage, and you design also together with the companies which will construct these roads, you get a high diversity of roads which will fit their purpose. And often you will use less material. May I have the next one? And finally, in this whole debate, we challenge the governments. Governments, we found out, often want a simple procurement system, which is a fairly short-term procurement system in which they have their own designers and their own technical employers, in which they give the market a short-term contract. But the market is strong in innovation, is strong in the whole structure. The market will also react on short-term contracts. For instance, we found out that the roads which we guarantee for to be without maintenance for 10 years, they have high maintenance costs after 10 years. If we lengthen the contract with the companies which construct the roads into a design, construct and maintenance contract of, for instance, 20 years, they will construct roads which hardly need any maintenance. And often those roads will therefore use far less material, far less energy. So you have to get into total cost of ownership to organize this. And that means that the government which is doing the procurement, will have to make total cost of ownership contracts and analysis. Yeah, may I have the next one? So the result is with a high carbon price, which is over 700 euros a ton, that it forces an open market consultation and negotiation, and it has a high impact on procurement, material use, and carbon reduction. We found that out in practice, it works. We also found out that if you open the market in a consultation, you also challenge the government. And the government will have to come up with long-term total cost of ownership contracts involving design, construct, and maintenance, and sustainable designs, and that was one of our biggest surprises, become profitable. We had cost reductions of over 50% in procurement of roads because we went into this system. So you have a lot of extra costs because of material and maintenance, which are often not calculated in the first stage of your procurement. If you do in this way, you cut cost and you stimulate investment. But you also have the social return on investment, which becomes natural. Because what we've seen is that a lot of the construction companies, they hire personnel for a short period during the contract stage, and they do that in short-term contracts. They also have not the possibility to get bank loans for the long-term investment in material, so they have to hire expensive machinery for a short-term period. But if they have a long-term contract, they're able to have people on long-term contracts also. So that allows for providing business and jobs and innovation, because banks and investors will be far more interested in parties which have long-term contracts. So that makes innovation possible. And working with stakeholders, so working with functional design, creates diversity in road design and smaller footprints which fit their use of the roads. So that was, for us, was a surprise that CO2 pricing and total cost of ownership created circular designs, but also strengthened social return on investment and made innovation possible. May I have the next one? I'll make this a bit shorter, but we also did that on public transport and school transport.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Oh. I'm sorry, but we just moved. Okay, yeah. Here we are.
So also with, we have zero emission public transport in Holland as a target. So in 2030, all public transport will have to be zero emission. When we told the market parties we will do that, that was a negotiation. And in that negotiation, we used the carbon price. And we challenged the market to do that. The market said, market party said, we will do this if you will, again, link this with total cost of ownership. For instance, if a company has to buy or use a bus, which is a bus which will cost more in investment, and the investment will pay itself back in 15 years, they want to guarantee that within the contract with the government, the bus is being used for that period of 15 years. So there was a negotiation, and the government set up a total cost of ownership procurement tool. So we have a tool which calculates this total cost of ownership, and we use it together with the market. And again, we involved the user because we saw a lot of inefficiencies in the construction of design and the combination of the different cars and buses being used. And we call that public transport as a service. So we combined those elements in the procurement, and for our public transport, we are now ensured, and it's going more rapid than we thought, that all public transport will be climate neutral in 2030, and there will not be any new bus with emissions from 2025 onwards. So that was a success, not only at the level of material use and carbon emissions, but also economically. Because in fact, with these kind of contracts, the bus companies, but also the governments, have lower costs. So it works out. At the moment, we're doing that also with school transport, which is more complex. It's more decentralized and it's smaller. Also with taxi services for health service, which is in Holland also government responsibility. But we use the same system, and we think that if we lengthen the contracts, procurement contracts of our governments, and we challenge the market at the same time, we'll get a profitable solution for both business and the governments. May I have the next one? So here I just recap that it shows the cost benefit of a challenging policy. So also our policymakers are proud to take part in this changing system, and therefore it creates also political support for measures being taken. But of course, the main element is that it commits the governments for long-term contracts, and it allows trust with investors, because the main challenge is that investors, like banks, will want to invest in the innovation being demanded. And it creates synergy between different transport systems and services. So also the public, which uses the public transport, is very positive on this functional design. And then I come to my conclusions. Next one. I think. Yeah. So if you combine carbon pricing, total cost of ownership, and market consultation, so you involve business directly with government in a design stage, it will make it possible to stimulate the circular economy and the regional economy, innovation, and we've seen we reach dramatic cuts in carbon emissions. And maybe most important, I've been an alderman in my city doing this, it creates dramatic cuts in costs because it allows for investors and the market parties to have trust in the contracts and to invest themselves in the circular economy and in carbon neutral business. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm sorry for mixing up some of your slides.
No problem.
I'm sorry. So are there any questions for Thijs? I saw in the chat that there is a question for Christos from Helena. I don't know if Christos has seen the question in the chat. He says, okay. So Helena asked that Christos in his presentation talked about some indicators from the European Circular Economy Planning. So Christos said that the life cycle of products and materials, the priority sectors, as well as impacts on competitiveness, innovation, and employment, these are the indicators. Okay, so Christos, would you like to tell it yourself? To give the answer yourself instead of me reading it?
Yes, according to the national strategy and circular economy in Greece, some of the indicators including in the proposed set are the life cycle of the products and the materials, the priority sectors, the impacts of on competitiveness, innovation and employment, as well as the resource productivity, the energy required for production, and as well as the carbon dioxide emission reduction.
Thank you.
Yeah, may I also react on this?
Yes, of course.
Because indicators and Christos also thanks for also for this comment are very important, and we've seen and I'm curious what the others think about that. We've seen that we need some key indicators which help us to limit the discussion to the main thrust of our work. So in our work, we have many indicators, and that means that you have loads of life cycle analysis and advisors involved in the whole debate. So we would like to go to a few main indicators which weigh heavy. And one of the indicators is CO2. And the other indicators is, according to us, is the recycling capacity of your program. So the amount of original material you use within your program. So for instance, if you build a road, you have to provide the information about on how much original pure material you use or how much recycled material you use. And you have to show how much in the maintenance you're able to recycle the products. So, and the third indicator, which is important in our debate, is whether you use conflict minerals. So we see that's an important issue, that you import minerals or materials from conflict regions, and that they are responsible for creating conflict elsewhere, so human rights issues. So you have circular economy, you have climate, and you have human rights. These three issues are then the main indicators which we use, and we look at the other indicators as a kind of a checklist, whether they follow the main indicators. And carbon emission, in fact, is we see is a nice main indicator, because, for instance, we also have dust, fine dust, and nitrogen oxide as emissions, but they are directly linked to carbon dioxide. So if you have low CO2 emission, you have low dust emission, and you have low NOx emission.
Okay, very interesting. Is there someone that wishes to add something to what Christos and Dice have said?
I think it's interesting that do you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, yes. Okay.
It's interesting that you also mention impact on competitiveness and employment and innovation, because I think those are also important things to, I mean the main thing, of course, the life cycle of products and materials, but then, I mean, the other aspects might be very important also, I think. But yeah, thank you for your answer.
Yeah, Helene, and I'm curious what others think about that, how that is in other countries. What we've seen and witnessed now is that industry or market parties are more keen and involved in circular economy and more advanced than the government. And I'd be curious what your feedback would be on that. So in our case, the industry but also the road construction companies, but also transport companies. They demand high carbon prices and high standards. And they would like to negotiate that with total cost of ownership contracts, which involve employment and innovation. So allows for them to go to the bank and get investors to be interested. And the main challenge is not with the, let's say, with the market parties, but is with the governments. That is our main hurdle. I'd be interested in this, what your opinion would be on that.
Okay, are there any reactions or any thoughts?
Yeah, I think you asked the other countries. Like, for example, I'm in Germany. How
Yeah, I don't know whether you have experience in these direct negotiations, but for instance, just to give an example, we negotiate now with the in our healthcare system, we have transport systems for elderly and sick people, and we also have a transport system for specialized schools. So that means we have taxis driving around and buses driving around, which do that on the basis of contracts with local and regional governments. And we want them to change to zero emission and to use the most effective and efficient transport systems possible. So also with the smallest footprint. But in fact, the companies say it's possible and we would like to do this. But the governments have an average contract of 3 years for this, the procurement. But the total cost of ownership for buying these electric cars is 7 years. So there's no investor being prepared to invest in innovation for a contract which only guarantees 3 years, while the total cost risk is 7 years. It's not an issue to change a contract to 7 years, because it will also mean for the government a financial benefit. Because if you have a contract of 7 years, the contractor can hire people employed on the basis of a steady contract, which is cheaper than flexible contracts. In fact, this will also be cheaper for the government at the level of social return on investment. But still, this is a difficult negotiation because the governments have difficulty in negotiating with the market parties and coming up with contracts which allow for innovation and social return on investment. So I'd be curious from Germany or Greece, or what kind of experience do you have?
Well, as we saw in Christos' presentation, dealing with the bureaucracy and the governmental decisions is one of the axes, one of the priorities of the Greek action plan in circular economy. And in our presentations tomorrow for 4 selected good practices, we will see that one of the things that they have to face is this kind of bureaucracy and also problems with taxation and licensing. So this negotiation with the government is an important issue to deal with when we want to turn into more circular solutions. So it's what we get as an experience is that We need the innovation. We need a financial motivation for companies and industries to, it's the environmental aspect, of course, but for them, in order to join circular economy procedures, they need financial motivation. And also we want the motivation on behalf of local authorities. So we want research, we want industries to be motivated. We want this pushing on behalf of and support of local authorities, but we also want the support of central government and the right legislation framework in order to help and support the whole process. So this is the experience that we get, that we have these four aspect cooperation in order to make things work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have our last speaker together with us. I don't know if Mr. Sarianis wanted to say something.
Yes.
Okay.
Circular economy is also important for public procurement.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a part of the legal framework about public procurement is related to circular economy, but I'm not sure that until now that the public bodies use it. I think this has to do with it's something new. It's something that all the bureaucracy of the public sector do not know how it works, and then it's not so clear how can we put this indicator in public procurement. So I think that we have to have pilot public procurement procedures in order to make it more clear and more it to be closer to the employees that are responsible for public procurement. I think this is the next step.
Or maybe develop a guide for green public procurement to disseminate it in all ministries and public sector to follow a set of actions, maybe.
There's a guide related to, for example, to energy consumption. But
yes, of course.
There's not something focused on circular economy until now. It could be useful if there's a European guide in order to be transferred to all countries.
Of course.
Easier. And public procurement can work like a driver for all the private procurement also.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the plans of the European Union nowadays, and they are discussing all these measures for the next action plan to be published in 2021.
Okay.
Do you have any similar guide in Netherlands?
Yeah, we do that, and so we have several guides on public procurement, and we have also a separate organization providing exchange of knowledge and schooling, because what we've seen is that the people doing public procurement at the local, regional, national government level, they need a lot of knowledge, and it's good to share that knowledge. So it's good to have a network which is a bit institutionalized or organized well, so that you share documents, legal documents, documents related to specific content and processes which you have to organize. And another thing which we do a lot is field training. So what we've seen is that we have to involve the officials for circular economy and procurement with the officials responsible for the main tasks in the local governments. Like if you are an official, so most of our provinces have a team circular economy, but they are not in the center of the power of the regional government. They don't do the projects on roads or construction and those kind of things. And then you need the political support. So you have to have the political guidance and space to create that change. So what we do is we work a lot together with the different regions and municipalities in training. Sitting together, how do we do that? And we involve market parties in that training. And often for instance, politicians, it's a surprise that the market is more advanced than they are. And so they would, the moment they recognize that, they would ask also their local government structure, why are we lagging behind what the market is asking us? That helps the officials on circular economy a lot, because they then are allowed to move on and to set up market consultations. So that dynamic, process dynamic is vital, because as we've seen, it's not the market which is the main problem, but it's the bureaucracy and the linkages within the bureaucracy which are not being made, and the lack of sharing of knowledge and content. So yes, I think it would be very useful to organize also together those kind of workshops, because we also see a lot of lonely officials wanting to move forward, but being trapped within their system. And you can only get out of that system by sitting together and working together with that.
Yeah, I can agree.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I want to agree with what Thijs Lacour just said, because I work for the municipality in The Hague, and I'm from the DEAR project also, that's why I'm here. But in our municipality, we have a special department for circular economy, and we have a separate department for traffic and transport and mobility. So it really takes time for them to combine their ideas. And I work for sustainability. We have a similar struggle to get through the normal structures with our sustainability message, how to make things more sustainable. And I agree that the people from the town, they